So the first question I got was, how much was your property purchase? So I bought my property for £277,700. Was it harder it being a solo purchase? Why did you buy a flat and not a house? Good question. Okay. What did you find most challenging during the home buying process? Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, please do hit that subscribe button. I am in a different setup today. I've recently got a new armchair, and I know that the camera angle might not be making it look as cute as it actually is because I've been trying to position it and I've not been doing a very good job with this camera. But it is nice and cozy, and I've got my little cushion to actually lean on because you know my arms is always doing something very awkward in videos, so it's just nice to have something to position it on. But in this video, I'm going to be doing a Q&A about my first time buyer experience. So I did announce back in June, or end of June is when I completed, that I just purchased my first property. It's an ex-council property. And I did ask you guys if you had any questions, and I did get a few questions around it, so I thought it would be good to just sit down, do a quick chit chat, answer your questions. I do still have some further, a little bit more in-depth videos around the whole property purchase itself, which I am still going to put out there because I know like someone's probably going to hold me accountable and be like, but Shay, you said you was going to do those proper like detailed videos, and I am, but I just thought it would be good to do maybe a little bit more of a generic Q&A around sort of my first time buyer experience. And yeah, and then I will then follow up with those videos as promised. So let's actually get into it. So the first question I got was, how much was your property purchase? So I bought my property for £277,700. The actual market value of the property was £390,000. So with the discount that the council gave me, my purchase price was £277,700. How long did it take you to save, and what are the best tips for saving money? Good question. So I would say all in all, it took me about... So let me be honest, guys. So my saving journey wasn't necessarily like a straight set period of time. You know how some people, they go hard like for like 2 years, 3 years, etc., 1 year even. Mine wasn't really like that. So as I've mentioned in previous videos, you know, I went through some financial difficulty, I had debts to pay off, etc. So my savings journey was a bit sporadic. So it would be like I would save consistently for a few months, and then maybe I would pause a little bit, and then kind of get back to it. And then I also went through a phase where I wasn't like necessarily putting away a consistent amount every month. I was kind of putting in whatever I could because I wanted to at least make sure that each month I put something in my savings. So that kind of went on for about a year or so, and then when I got into a place where I was financially in a better place and I was earning more, etc., then that's when I sort of consistently started putting money away. So I would say it took me about 2 years, something like that, maybe let's say 3, because yeah, I'd say like if I'm adding everything together in terms of the actual time, I'd say probably about 3, because yeah, you guys know already, I like to travel, I like to enjoy life. Like, I'm someone that does believe that you should save, you should invest, but I am also somebody that likes to do enjoyment. So I feel like if I wasn't going traveling as much as I did throughout that period, and not doing as much enjoyment, it probably would have taken me half the time, if I'm being honest. But I do think that it's important, even through your saving journey, to still make sure that you're making time for things that are important to you. For me, traveling, doing things with friends, etc., I enjoy that. I need that for my mental stability. So I wasn't really trying to go on that real strict, can't do anything, can't live my life for the next year. I mean, I'm not knocking anyone that does that, and there's going to be times in my life where I'm going to do that. But I just prefer to make sure that I was still enjoying my life even though I was saving. Oh, sorry, I forgot the other question. What's the best tips for saving money? So I actually have done a video on this already when I give my savings tips in terms of what worked for me and tips that I would just give generally. So I will put the kind of link to it somewhere up here or here. I don't know where it will go. But yeah, check out that video, and that pretty much highlights all of my tips for saving money. Was it harder it being a solo purchase? Do you know what? A couple people asked me this. I guess I don't know. I feel like maybe the question was meant to say, was it easier, it being a solo purchase? Or was it harder? No. Really, Shay. No. Was it harder? Yeah. No. Yeah, I get it. So I would say I don't think it was necessarily harder for me, but I think that's because of my affordability. So when you're going for your mortgage application, they will do affordability based on your earnings. Although let me not even make it sound like I'm earning like big money, but I would say maybe compared to the average, my salary is quite high. So because of that, it allowed me the opportunity to be able to borrow more. So it didn't affect my purchase in terms of the amount I was needing to borrow, because I passed the affordability assessment for that. So I don't think it was necessarily harder for me. I think the reason why sometimes people might face difficulty on their own is because of that affordability assessment, because a lot of the time maybe they're only earning a certain amount that will allow them to borrow a certain amount, and if they perhaps had somebody else and then you combine the two earnings together, then you're able to afford a more expensive property. So that's probably why some people would find it harder as opposed to it being a solo purchase. But I personally didn't feel that it was necessarily harder because I met the affordability criteria that I needed for my property purchase. And like I said, in terms of saving, I kind of took my time to save. And so I don't think it was necessarily harder for me, but I can appreciate why it would be harder for some people. And let's be honest, two heads are often always better than one. It is always going to be easier if somebody else is involved, because that's someone else bringing in money. So money that you would save on your own, you could save that with someone. You could probably do it in half the time. Again, just as I was speaking about affordability assessments and stuff, again, having someone else, that's two of your incomes combined together, that's going to maximize the amount that you're going to be able to borrow. So it is probably 100% easier to do it with somebody else than doing it on your own, but I personally didn't find it difficult. Why did you buy a flat and not a house? Good question. A lot of people actually, well, not a lot, maybe like 2 people, but a few people did question this, especially kind of when I talk about how much I paid for it. A lot of people are sort of like, if you could afford to buy your property at that value, why not go a bit further out of London and get an actual house as opposed to buying a flat? Now, the reason is, and I'm going to go into a bit more detail about that in the other videos that I'm going to do around the whole council right to buy scheme and its pros and cons, etc. But essentially, it was because I had a good opportunity here. Doing the council right to buy scheme allowed me to be able to purchase a reasonably good property at a fraction of the price. And it allowed me to have quite a decent amount of equity in the property at the moment of purchasing it because of the discount that was given to me. There was just a lot of things that made it a very favourable direction to go. I do appreciate though that if I had my way, or if this opportunity wasn't there, I don't think I would have bought a flat as my first property purchase. I don't even know if I would have bought a flat at all, actually, to be honest. I would have always preferred to have gotten a house. But as I had the opportunity to buy this council property and I've lived here for like 3-4 years, it just made sense. It just kind of made sense. It was just like, it felt like a smart move. But yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for that, like if I was just going on the open market and this property was available, I wouldn't pick this over a house. So yeah, I get why people would ask me that, but it was just simply because of the opportunity that I had, that it felt like it made sense to go for this as opposed to going and buying a house as my first time purchase. Did you use a broker or high street bank, and how was your experience? So I used a broker, and I do talk about this in a bit more detail in the video I have recorded about my mortgage experience. So I'll probably not go into too much detail about that because it's all going to be in that video and I've recorded it already. But yes, I used a broker and I had a very, very positive experience. And I do think that everybody's different, but I would say as a first-time buyer, somebody that's never done this before, I feel like you need direction and you need to know what your options are. I kind of feel like if you was to just go to a high street bank, all you're going to get is that one option. They're going to present you with that one offer of whatever that is. You're not going to know if you're necessarily getting the best value for your money. Whereas with a broker, they'll give you multiple options and you can kind of choose and you can kind of see what works best for you, and they kind of guide you through that process and they help answer questions, and they, all this jargon, they help you kind of like understand all of that. I personally just found it a lot more smoother and easier to use a broker because you know, I was lost. I didn't know what I was doing. So yeah, but some people, you know, are very savvy and they may still be fine as a first-time buyer going directly to a bank. Especially if you've banked there for years and it makes sense to you, then I get it. But me personally, I preferred using the broker as somebody that was a first-time buyer. So I would recommend all first-time buyers to look for a broker. And my broker was called Habito, and they were actually a broker that didn't actually charge me for their services, which I know that there's mortgage brokers out there that do charge. But mine didn't charge me. They actually took the fee from the lender instead. So that was also another plus. It was like, they're doing all this work for me for free. Why not go for that option? Is this your forever home? No, it is not. So I have lived in this flat for 4 years now, or coming up to almost 4.5 years actually, so quite a bit of time. And I've only just recently bought it. So no, it's not my forever home for a few reasons. One is that it is a 1-bed flat. And as I am thinking about starting a family in the future, etc., it just wouldn't be practical to kind of stay in a 1-bed flat. If this flat had more bedrooms, maybe I would consider staying here longer than I plan to, just because of the location is just so ideal and, you know, all of that. But yeah, no, it's not my forever home. It really was just, you know, an opportunity to get me onto the property ladder and actually just live somewhere that that I can now call my own and say that I actually own it. But I'll probably stay here for, I don't know. I don't even want to come on here and be acting like I know how long I'm going to stay here. I'll stay here for a bit longer until I get to that stage of my life, obviously, when I am thinking about starting a family and thinking about moving into our like family home. Then yeah, that's probably when I'll move out of here. But for now, this is my home for now, but it's definitely not my forever home. Will you buy more property? Absolutely. Yeah, I've always wanted to invest in property. That's kind of something that I've always seen as a kind of investment opportunity for me and an extra income stream. I've always wanted to do it, but because I had to wait for a certain amount of time before I was able to buy this property and all of that sort of stuff, it's kind of delayed, I guess, my sort of property investment opportunities. It's kind of delayed my property investment goals a bit. But it's okay. You know, the plan is to definitely invest in more property, definitely have more properties under my portfolio. But I wanted to start with this as just my initial purchase, and then we'll take it from there. But watch this space, guys, because yeah, this ain't going to be, by God's grace, this is just the first of many. Okay. What did you find most challenging during the home buying process? Ooh. I think for me, it's just things being outside of your control. I'm someone that, you know, I could be a little bit of a control freak, you know, just in the sense that like, I like to know kind of when things are happening, what I need to do. I like to be on top of things. And I think with the home buying process, there's a lot of things that are outside of your control. So that in itself can be quite anxiety inducing, you know, from applying for your mortgage and waiting for an offer to, I mean, in my case, it was different because obviously the council, I was buying it from the council. But imagine if you're buying it on the open market and, you know, you've got someone that's selling it to you and they could easily pull out at any point. There's just all these little moving parts that you don't really have control over. And I think that's the hardest part, because you kind of almost feel like until you've really got to that finish line, it almost feels like nothing's really happening or nothing's really finalized as of yet. Until you get to that contract exchange point, you're kind of just like, oh, anything can happen, like anything can kind of fall through. And it's that nerve-wracking feeling that I would say I found quite difficult. And then the just waiting again, like waiting, having to chase up solicitors, having to chase up the council in my case. All of that sort of stuff I found quite hard. But other than that, I would say it was kind of smoothish, but it was just, yeah, the waiting around, the not being able to have much control over certain things. I found that very difficult. But yeah, I would say that was probably the most challenging. What tips do you have for other first-time buyers? So I would say really kind of map out what your goal is with this. Like, is this going to be somewhere that you're going to live? Is this going to be an investment property? Like, really think about why you're buying it. And the reason I say that is because I think, like I think I might have said this in one of my other videos, but I do feel like home ownership is really glamorized, and I do feel like there's this emphasis on our generation to buy houses, buy houses. And yes, you know, generational wealth is for sure what we all want to aspire for and what we want to build. But home ownership isn't for everybody. That's not always the avenue that's best for everyone. There are some people that want to take other investment routes. So I would say the first thing is like, think about why are you buying a place? Are you buying it because it seems like the thing to do and you want to post the pictures of your keys that you just bought somewhere? Or are you buying it because you really do want to look at the investment opportunities for you and your family in the future? Think about your why. I would say focus on your why. And then once you've kind of established that, think about, is it the right time? Because I think another thing is that I would say is that timing is everything. I had moments where I really just, because I really had this urge to get on the property ladder, I almost I was close to almost ditching this opportunity that I had to buy my flat the way I did, because I was just like, oh, I just want to buy somewhere. I want to own something. I want to have an asset, you know? And I kind of let that cloud, I want to say cloud my judgment. Yeah, I kind of to some extent kind of let that cloud my judgment a bit. And I kind of just weren't really thinking about the bigger picture and the kind of long term. So I would say really focus on the why, really think about the long term of why you want to buy somewhere, what the opportunities are for you if you were to. Then I would say be realistic about what your budget is. So how much do you want to spend on this? How much can you afford to spend? I mean, if you think about it, this is something you're going to have for the next 25, 30 years. So you want to go into it with your eyes wide open, knowing that for the next 25, 30 years, this purchase is going to be affordable. Obviously, we don't know, our situations might change, etc. But just kind of map it out and just sort of be realistic about what your budget is. And then start setting like realistic savings goals towards that. And I think it's okay if something isn't going to take the time you want it to take. Just because we want something now doesn't mean that that's the best avenue to go down. So for example, if you've done your maths and it's going to take you 3 years, that's okay. Let it take 3 years and then feel comfortable at the end of that 3 years knowing that you did something that was affordable for you and you just feel like, yeah, I've really worked hard for this. But sometimes I think we can let that rush of wanting to do something within a certain time kind of force us beyond our means a bit. No, I don't believe in that. I think just take your time. I think be realistic to you, your lifestyle, your situation. If it's going to take you 3 years, it's going to take you 3 years. If it's going to take you 2 years, it will take you 2 years. And just kind of be comfortable with that. Be comfortable in the journey that you're going to take, and don't let society or anything pressure you into kind of going beyond that. So I would say that as well. I would also say to really take your time in researching where you want to buy. So if this is going to be your home, be realistic about the areas that you're thinking of. Sometimes I think that a lot of people just have the attitude of, let me just buy where I can afford. But what if that area is not suitable for you? What if when you're thinking about the future and children, etc., what if it's not a good area to bring up your children? What if, so many what ifs, guys. So I would say really take your time and think about it, because again, if this is somewhere that you're going to live, you really want to make sure you've picked a good area, you've picked somewhere that's got good transport links, you've picked somewhere that's going to be good for raising children, good schools. So really research these things, guys. Again, don't rush into it just because you want to get on the property ladder. Really have a think about it. And again, however long that's going to take you. So if, for example, you think, okay, I've got money and I can afford to buy a house here, but it's not really somewhere that I would ideally want to live, but I want somewhere. If you know that, okay, it might mean that you have to wait another 6 months and save another 6 months, but then you can afford an area that's a bit more suited to you, just do that. I think, again, like going back to what I said in the beginning about focusing on your why, I think that's very important. I think if we focus on why we're doing something, oh, sorry, I can see this. Sorry, I thought it was like all zooming in and out. But yeah, I'd say just really just think about what you want to get out of the property buying purchase. And if it is like your family home, etc., don't rush these things. Like, this is a lifetime decision, or a quarter of your lifetime decision perhaps. But yeah, just really take your time. I would say that. And I would also say, one thing that I did is that I really took my time when I was trying to look for my solicitor, because I always heard horror stories about the conveyancing process. So I really took my time, and I thought that I found the most amazing solicitor ever. It's questionable, but the point is just like really research and find like people that you want to use, whether it's a broker, whether it's a solicitor. All these people are such big parts of the home buying process. So you want to make sure you pick good people and people who are going to get the job done to the standard that you want. So again, take your time when looking for these people. Make sure they come highly recommended. If other people have used them before, ask them their experiences, read the Trustpilot reviews, etc. Because all of these things make a difference to the property purchase. So you want to make sure that you've picked the right people for that process. And then the other tip I would say is, I know it can be hard, it can be stressful, but try and enjoy it. I know it sounds weird, and I know I've said that it was a bit anxiety inducing for me and stuff, but to some extent, like, you're about to take like a big leap in your life. You're about to make a big change, a positive change, and you're about to like make a big investment for your life. So kind of try and enjoy that process a bit and kind of take it all in bit by bit. Because with me, I was just like trying to get to the finish line, that I didn't really stop to really enjoy those little small moments of like, you know, getting my mortgage offer and all of these like kind of milestones. So I would say try and enjoy the process and just trust in your timing again. And I feel like I need to keep emphasizing that, because I do think that we get pressured in this society. Trust in your timing and your timing alone. Whatever somebody else has done in a year might be different to your year, but just trust that everything's going to happen for you at the right time. And with property, like buying property, these properties are not going nowhere. Like, as in, there's always going to be a property for you when you're ready to buy it. So yeah, man, just take your time is what I would say. How did you feel when you completed? So, and I've mentioned this in one of my videos, but it's fine. I've mentioned this in one of my videos, but that video is not out yet, so I will mention it now. I can't lie, I felt a few things. I did feel a sense of relief, like, yes, it's done now, dusted, don't have to worry about it anymore. But I didn't necessarily feel that same buzz that I think most first-time buyers would feel. Because I was buying a property that I already live in, I didn't really feel that. I don't know how to explain it, but I can imagine what that buzz feels like when you get your keys and you're about to move in and, you know, you're adjusting to like your new home. I didn't have that because I was already here. So I didn't really feel that same excitement, I don't think, because I remember when I was first moving into this place, and obviously I was only renting at the time, but I remember that feeling of, oh, finally I'm getting my own place, and just that excitement and the excitement I felt ordering furniture and all these things. I didn't have that because I was already here, already had all my furniture, already had everything. So I didn't necessarily feel that same buzz, but I definitely did feel a sense of relief that, okay, finally I did it, I'm here now. And it is a good feeling, I can't lie, it is. But I do think it's a better feeling when you know it's the right time and you know that you kind of did it in the right way. You didn't rush yourself, you didn't overexert yourself financially. You can kind of just relax and you're not feeling that strain. I do think that helped as well. So yeah, I definitely would say I felt a sense of relief after I completed. So yeah, guys, that was all the questions that you guys asked me. If you do have any more questions about my experience as a first-time buyer, please do drop your comments below, DM me on Instagram, email me, and I'll be more than happy to kind of do another Q&A where I kind of like answer your questions in a bit more detail. But also do stay tuned for my videos that are coming up around the actual property buying purchase itself. So I'm going to do a video about how I actually was able to get a council flat in the first place, in terms of how I was eligible. I'm going to do a video about my mortgage experience buying an ex-council property, because it differs ever so slightly to buying a property on the open market. And then I'm also going to do a video about how I found that conveyancing process, so the moment from getting my mortgage offer to actually completing my property purchase. I'm going to do a video about that as well. So if you do have questions in the meantime, do let me know and I will definitely answer them. But I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Please do leave a comment below, let me know your thoughts. Make sure you like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.